everyone, and hi, Davina. I'm sorry, I forgot again.
That's right. That was right. That was good.
Okay, perfect. Hi, Davina. Welcome on our DocuTalks. And can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your photography?
Yes, I started off as a wedding photographer after asking my husband for a camera for Christmas after my twin girls were born. So I already had a son and I had twin girls, and I decided, oh, I want to take better pictures of them. So I asked for a camera for Christmas and some classes at the local art center. And then there, somebody asked me to photograph their wedding, and pretty soon I had a huge wedding business 5 years later. So then I moved to South Carolina, and my kids were all in school by then, except for my youngest. I took a sabbatical. I decided I don't want to be gone all the time when my kids are home. So I decided to start families. And in that process, I thought, oh, I really love photographing families when they're doing what they normally do. And I was hired to go to England to photograph a family for 2 days in England, and I loved it. I was like, this is what I want to do. Wow. So from then on, I've been doing documentary work a lot more. I teach a lot of familyness courses about how to have a happy family, a connected family, things like that. So I have both of those things kind of going on. I speak and teach and mentor and all that kind of stuff too. So yeah.
It sounds almost like a destiny.
Yeah, I feel like it is, because I did some photography classes in college, but it was just kind of a side thing because I thought they were just fun, and my family kind of dubbed me the family photographer. I took so many pictures all the time. But I was studying voice performance, and then I ended up changing my major to family science. And so I feel like these two things have finally converged. Photography and family work have finally converged in a really cool way. So I love it.
Wow, cool. And what do you think? Do photography help in a certain way to family? Can it solve any kind of problems for a family?
I really believe so, especially because of my family science work. And I thought about going into marriage and family therapy. And strangely enough, when I've done a lot of my sessions, I've had clients say to me, this feels like a therapy session. So I've had clients actually who have come into doing a session and really not having a super clear idea about what it is, but thinking it's cool. And then they do the session, and afterwards I've had moms realize, oh, I don't have to be a perfect mom, because these pictures aren't me being perfect, but it's me in the depth of my work and in what I'm doing as a mom, and it's so powerful. But I do fun stuff, and there's laughing, and I do laugh as a mom. Some moms are like, oh, I do laugh as a mom, and they see that there's this huge spectrum of what they do in a day and who they are, and that makes a really big difference. And they feel like, I had one mom say, I really feel like I don't have to compare myself to other moms anymore. I see who I really am as a mom, which is, I mean, that makes me cry. I'm like, okay, that makes this work so powerful and amazing. I love it. And then I've had couples who were on the verge of divorce or thinking about it, and then they have a session and they realize, oh my gosh, I have the best husband ever. He's so great. And what was I thinking? And my life is amazing. So yeah, I feel like every family should have one of these sessions, because it really is life-changing, and it helps you see your family in a way you weren't seeing it before. There are families who book, who have great families, they love their family, but still when they see these pictures, it changes the lens literally that they're looking through their family at. And it's pretty awesome. I want every family. I have families who think, oh, I just kind of want one. I'm like, okay, let's figure out, if you've connected with this, you need to have this, because there's something pulling you to this, and we've got to figure out how to make it happen for you.
And I have a feeling that families, sometimes they get used to their life. Everything is so normal, and they say it's boring and nothing happens in their family. And then you come as a stranger and you see all these little tiny moments that are so great and wonderful and really, really original, because you have never seen them before in the situation like that. So it's like a third person looking at that. It's much more strong experience than when they just take their selfies by themselves. Do you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. I mean, even I just had a couple phone calls last week talking to some moms, because I always talk with them a little bit. If anyone is even interested, I'm like, there's no pressure. I just want to get on the phone with you, because just getting on the phone with someone and talking them through it a little bit, they start being like, oh, that would be awesome. And so I just say, so tell me about what your morning was like this morning. And they tell me what their morning was like. And I'm like, okay, I'm already having pictures in my mind of what I could be taking pictures of you from this morning. And so you don't even have to plan anything, and there's gonna be really cool things that I can take pictures of. So being able to do that for moms or any parent, they realize, oh, okay, and I get excited, so they get excited. They're like, oh, my life is cool. I thought we were really boring. I'm like, no, you already told me some things that I'm like, I can't wait to photograph that. And I tell them it doesn't have to happen the way it happened this morning, because however it happens, it's gonna be great. So anyway, I think, yes, taking selfies or just living your life, you get really used to it, and you get really used to the awesome things about you, or the quirky little things, or the just everyday stuff. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but you get used to it. And so it becomes something really normal to you. Whereas when I walk in, I'm like, no, that's so cool.
Sure. And what are the main fears family can have before a real stranger, come in and spend the whole day with them?
Oh, I think there's a lot. I had my own day in the life session, and I love documentary photography. I'm like, yeah, I want to have a session for sure. And I'm already on board. So people who aren't quite on board yet, I can see why a lot of things would stop them from wanting to do a session. So I'm on board. And I even, like, a couple times before the session, I was like, push this out a little farther. Maybe I could lose like 10 pounds. Maybe I could reschedule this, and maybe we could. And so there were many, and then I thought, oh, maybe we could get like downstairs painted before she comes. And I am totally about real, but I'm looking around after I schedule the session. I'm looking around going, oh my gosh, there are fingerprints everywhere. Oh my gosh, my carpet looks terrible. We have 20-year-old furniture. Oh my gosh, this looks terrible. Or the kids have put their hands for 20 years. It's all kind of shiny and dark and gross. Like, oh, that's gonna look terrible in these pictures. So yes, I'm a documentary photographer, and I still had all those worries and all those fears that every other person is gonna have. And I feel like as a photographer, I have to be really patient with people who are worried and fearful, because just the process of getting a session booked can be a challenge. And then once you book it, working through a lot of those fears as you look around your house and as you look at your children, and you see, she's gonna see all this. She's gonna see my child is freaking out. She's gonna see a meltdown. You know, they start realizing all the things I'm gonna see. And of course, as people, we see all the negative things. We're like, oh my gosh, she's gonna see all these terrible things. But we don't realize that a lot of that stuff is not what a photographer sees when she comes in the door. She sees the connection, the interaction. And I had one mom who said, I was afraid when I saw my pictures, it was just gonna be my one child crying in every picture, because it felt like it that day that she just would not stop crying. And then she realized, oh, she cries for like 2 minutes, and then we have a really fun day and we laugh, and then she cries again for 2 minutes and we get through it, and then we have a fun day. She's like, oh, that's nice to know that she doesn't really cry all day long. So, you know, there's just all these little things that I feel like I have to give people space to work through. And when someone contacts me, I feel like that's when I start supporting them and saying it's going to be okay. And and some people will give me a call and we'll have a big phone call, and they won't book right away. And that's okay, because maybe there's some stuff they need to work through in order to really put their all into saying, I'm ready. Yeah. So I think that that's part of my job as a photographer, is to be a little bit of a hand holder through a kind of emotional transformational experience because I believe that this can be a transformational experience for people to have a documentary session. And once people do it, they're like, I want to do this every year. This was so amazing, because it reaches somewhere into their soul that no other photo shoot ever has.
Yeah, and it's almost like a family psychologist, and yeah, and it's a therapy for both sides, for a photographer and a family as well. And as for crying, I think parents, because they need to comfort their children, and that can be very nice. The experience is a little bit different than we as photographers, because they are not our children. We are not worried about they crying. They can cry all the time, because for me, it's just a great moment to capture a nice photo. So let children cry as much as they want, because then parent will be comforting and will be nice and touching and everything. So it can be really, really great moments.
Yeah, it does totally add to the connection when people are able to just allow their kids to be whoever their kids are. And if they do have meltdowns in it, or if they are really happy kids, they can be either one of those things, or all of those things, or all of those things in a 3-minute time period, whichever. So I think that is really cool. I know for me, my kids wanted to go swimming the day that my day in the life session was, and we went kayaking in the morning. I have teenagers, so we can go do activities, and it was a summer day, so we went and did fun stuff. But we were going kayaking, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am not putting my swimsuit on to go kayaking. No way. And so I just like wore my yoga pants and a t-shirt, and I was so hot because I didn't put on my swimsuit. But anyway, so we went kayaking, and I got this major tan on like my calf because I didn't wear my swimsuit. But then after we went kayaking, my kids were like, we want to go swimming, we want to go swimming. And we have a friend's pool we go over to like a lot during the summer. And so I was like, okay, and I always swim with them. I don't ever not swim with them. I always swim with them. But it's a private pool. No one ever sees me in my swimsuit except my family.
No photographer.
So what? Yeah, no photographer for sure. So when we got on the way to the pool, my kids were like, you are getting in the pool, right? And I was all, of course I'm getting in the pool. I always get in the pool. And so I did put on my swimsuit that day, and I cannot say that I was completely uninhibited, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is going on the record. Even during the session, I had not like prepped myself that I would be wearing a swimsuit on the day in the live session, but I ended up in a swimsuit. And so I had fun. I didn't worry about it too much. But then the pictures came, and I saw this one picture of myself, and it's of me about as I'm jumping off the diving board into the pool. And every time we go to the pool, I always stand on the diving board for a couple of minutes, because this pool water is seriously always freezing cold. And I'm always like having to work myself up, and my kids are always yelling, Mom, do it, get in the pool, get in the pool. And so it's kind of a little thing that always happens, even though I hadn't really realized it happens every time, but it does. I like have to work myself up to jump into this freezing pool. So there's this picture of me, you know, jumping in the pool. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope that picture never sees the light of day. But I thought it was funny, and then my kids were like, oh my gosh, that's so you, Mom. I love that picture. That is so what happens every time we go to the pool. And they love my face in the picture and everything. And of course, the first time I saw it, I saw my tan line that's like halfway down my, you know, on my thighs, because I'm never tanning or anything. And so, but as soon as they saw it and loved it, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this picture. This is totally like my facial expressions. And that's the other thing I loved about my session. I have so many facial expressions, and I laugh a lot. And I hadn't really thought that was going to be one of the cool things to come out of the session. And that I love to be with my kids. And there's just little things that came out of that session, and little pictures that I really love that I wasn't expecting. So it's just really cool. And I love that I have pictures that my family loves so much of me and that they feel like, that is so you, Mom. And I'm never in the pictures. I'm a photographer. And I think a lot of moms are never in the pictures, even if they're not like a pro photographer, they're always the one taking the pictures, so they're not in them. But yeah. They're taking all the pictures of the other people, of the kids, and maybe dads in the pictures or whatever, but they aren't usually. And so I think, and I know, I'm a photographer. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but I'm a photographer, so I know how important pictures are. There's studies that have been done that kids who have pictures on their walls of them being loved by their parents, it boosts their self-confidence. It helps them to have higher self-esteem. It helps them to feel more loved. There are a lot of things that are good about having printed pictures of your children and you in your house and in books and stuff like that. It's good. It's a good psychological, emotionally healthy thing. It helps families. It helps kids. I know this, but I don't have a whole lot of pictures of me with my kids in picture, and that's what I loved about the session. I mean, I lay down at night with my kids every night. And I talk about this a lot on my blog, about connection and making time for your kids and making sure you spend time with each of your kids individually every day. And that this is one of my times every day that I get to spend a couple of minutes where it's just me and the one child. And usually at night in that time, that's when I hear a lot of the things they don't want to say in front of the whole rest of the family, or they'll think of things in the day that they hadn't told me yet, or just little things like that. And so I love this little time that I have every night with my kids, but I do not have any pictures of me doing that except for like a selfie, And so these are some of my favorite pictures of me laying down with my kids. I love this one of me with my daughter, and we're just snuggled up and chatting and laughing together. And then my son was about to go off to college, and like in 2 weeks, he left for college after this photo session. And so I, even though he was 18, I would still lay down and we would chat. And so I have that picture, which I love. And I think every mom of a son who's seen that picture has been like, oh my gosh, I want that picture of me with my son. Because everyone really loves that picture too. So there's this connection with this kind of session that is not there when people see other sessions. And that's not to put down any other session, because they all have their place. I think every kind of photography has its place and its purpose. But for this reaches into people's hearts and souls in a way that other photography just doesn't. Because I think people, when they see those pictures, they see the realness or the rawness or the connection or the dynamic between people, and they think, that's us. I want a picture of us like that. Because they feel that same feeling that's happening in that picture. They felt it before in their own family, and they want that captured for them too.
Yeah, totally agree. I can hear myself a couple of times. And I like that every little moment and every single picture, you have the whole story about it. It's not just you look at the picture and, oh, it looks nice, and let's go on. You can tell the story, and in 20 years, you will remember it a little bit differently, but still there will be a story. And it will be so wonderful to share those moments with your grandchildren and one day grandchildren. And that's because it's not only a picture. It's all about the situation that happened behind the picture, all that life you've been through at that moment.
For sure. And actually, even just this morning, I teach photography classes for moms and things like that. And one of my students just this morning, she posted a picture that she had taken of her son looking out onto this baseball field. And she said she showed her son this picture, and she already really loved this picture because she sees this boy loving baseball and looking out onto the baseball field. And she showed it to her son, and her son said, "Oh, Mom, that looks like I'm just looking out there wanting to play with the big boys." And I thought, see, he knows the story. He has his own story by you taking that picture. Instead of you telling him because it's about we talk about how you got to let kids be kids and not tell them to turn. So she could have told him, turn around and smile and let me take a picture. And that story would have been gone for him. Yeah. But when he sees that picture, he knows that story and what he was thinking. And so for kids to be able to remember their own stories and what they were experiencing in that moment is so cool and so powerful.
That's wonderful. Well, I love it so much. And what would be your advice for someone who is starting with documentary family photographers and are just starting to have these talks with the families? How to make them more confident in themselves, talking to the families about their fears, about their documentary sessions?
That is a question that I've had that discussion with a lot of photographers before. And as photographers, sometimes we can get really frustrated that people just won't book or that they just won't get okay with it, or we think, what is their deal? And I think a lot of it is us being patient with people. This is a new way to photograph families that it's not new because documentary work has been around for ages, but for families to allow themselves to be seen this way is new. And so I know that when I'm patient with people, and instead of getting frustrated with, why aren't you booking? Come on, just take the lead. And realizing that they have things that they're personally working through in order to book with me. That gives me a lot more compassion, a lot more understanding, a lot more of, let me help walk you through this. And that way I'm thinking about their needs instead of just, I want to do a session, you know, and really thinking, I think it's important to realize that not only are you a photographer, you're also part therapist. And if you aren't willing to kind of be a part therapist, then this might not be the genre of photography for you. If you're really just wanting to get in there, get it done, make it happen, take some great shots, if that's what you're looking for, this might not be for you, because really you're dealing with a really vulnerable place. What we see as photographers is what no one else sees. Even when grandparents come to visit, and even if they stay there, they don't see that stuff, because grandparents like to play with children and then maybe go to the guest room and hang out for a little while. Or if the children are freaking out, they might like to take a little break. Or if the children freak out, they give them back to their parents, and then they kind of do that. All grandparents are different. Some grandparents are much more hands-on and everything. But a lot of times grandparents are coming and visiting, and then they're leaving, and families are trying to be there on their best behavior or whatever. And so as a photographer, I'm there the minute they wake up until they go to bed, and they're not ever getting a break from me, And so I'm seeing everything. And so people know that, and that can be scary. And so I have to be a person who is patient with wherever they are and meet them there and say, I'm here for you, and I'm meeting you wherever you are, and we can make this happen, and it's okay if it takes you a little while to book. So for me, I think a lot of it is just being patient and allowing people the chance to talk to you about it a couple times before they book.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was just wonderful. And I'm so inspired, and just a little bit more, like, I need to go and make more photo shoots, and need to see more families, and I need to get there because it's so wonderful, and it's just, it can be so great. Thank you so much once again. Have a great day. And maybe we'll meet one day somewhere personally.
I would love that. That would be awesome.
I enjoy your hair. I just love it.